So I found these tables on OfferUp for $5 each. I'm gonna start off by cleaning them. I got this spray at Dollar Tree. The toallita I already had, I just wet it a little bit and started spraying and wiping off the dust. You can tell as I'm cleaning it how wobbly the patitas are. I went over it twice just because the tables were outside for God knows how long, so I just wanted to make sure that they were clean. So after I cleaned them, this is how they looked. You can tell that they were pretty scratched and cracked. The patitas were loose. So up next, we're gonna glue them with some Gorilla Glue. So after gluing the bottom, I was going to glue the top as well, but I just decided for the patitas abajo to dry first. So these patitas were loose from the top, so I flipped the table over, that way the weight can distribute to where I was gonna put the glue. So after putting the glue, I decided to sand by hand. Worst idea ever. I would suggest to invest on a sander. So after sanding it, I used a little bit of wood filler to fill in the cracks, and then sanding it again with the sander, and then the edges by hand, just to make sure that I'm getting it all. So after sanding it, we're just gonna wipe off the leftover dust. So that's how they look after being sanded and cleaned, and they are ready for the primer. I'm gonna be using Kills. I don't even know if it's even necessary when you're painting wood. I know for sure for the MDF, but I mean, this was my first project, so I just figured why not. So as you can see, I'm going over it back and forth on top, and then on the edges I'm doing it side to side. Trying to put very little, especially on the little edges, just to avoid any primer buildup. So after applying the Kills primer, I am going to be going over it with the Bear paint that I bought at Home Depot, with an eggshell finish for it to have some matte look to it. So turns out this paint also has primer. At that point I was just thinking if it was actually necessary to put the other Kills primer before the paint, but it was already done, so I just started painting. So again, I'm going back and forth with the paintbrush just for it to have a clean look. Sideways for the edges. Make sure you don't soak your paintbrush with so much paint, just to avoid any paint drips on the edges or corners. So I was running out of daylight, so I just decided to call it a night and continue the next day. I'm sanding the table that I had flipped upside down the day before. Again, going over the edges by hand just to make sure you get everything. We're gonna wipe down the dust. This one had a little bit more cracks than the other ones, so I decided to put a little bit of wood filler on top. So this is how the one that I was painting last night looks, And this is how this one looks after I sanded it and put a little bit of primer. And then up next, I'm gonna be mixing the paint with a little bit of water just for it to have a smoother finish, just because without the water it was drying a little bit on me. And just wiping it down, just making sure there's no dust or dirt or whatever on it. I think it's satisfying seeing the paint dry and go from shiny to matte. Again, this is an eggshell finish on the bare paint. So it was a little windy and I was running out of sunlight again, so I decided to go into my living room. I just put some towels on the floor to avoid getting paint on it. Please excuse my nosy dog. So here I'm going over the wood filler to blend in any bumps or excess wood filler that might be there. That way there's a smooth foundation. And now we're just gonna wipe away all the excess dust and get ready for the primer. And here it is. This is how it looks like right before putting the primer. So this is gonna take a minute, so you want to go ahead and skip ahead to where I get to painting, or if you just want to go ahead and watch the process of me applying the primer, stick around. So I know I said that the paint had primer too, but I didn't want to do different steps from the first table and for them to come out different, so I just decided to do the same steps. So with the paint, I added a little bit of water, but then I realized that it was leaving some bumps. So I just decided to wipe off paint and use that paint instead on the bottom where you couldn't see it that much. So I realized that I put too much water in the paint. Nothing bad with that, I guess, but you are gonna have to go over it a couple more times. So I'm just gonna be going over the bottom, not all of it, but just to clean up the excess primer, the drips of paint. When I flipped this, I saw that it was a Bassett furniture. I don't know if that's any good. And then I realized that it had a tag for $65 each table. Again, I paid $5 each, and I'm hoping to sell them for $100. And this is how they look.